All right, so today we're talking about the executive order issued by the Trump administration on August 7th, 2025. It was titled Democratizing Access to Alternative Assets for 401k Investors. After reading this executive order, here are my thoughts. So to kind of summarize it, this order, it aims at extending alternative assets access to 401k investors. As written in the order, it is the policy of the United States that every American preparing for retirement should have access to funds that include investments and alternative assets. So this order goes on to mention private deals in real estate and debt, digital assets, commodities, infrastructure funds, and risk-sharing pool alternative investments. While this order does not directly amend any laws, it does recommend that the Secretary of Labor re-examine and clarify ERISA fiduciary duties, potentially supporting alternative investments and as an investable asset class in defined contribution ERISA regulated accounts such as 401ks. Now the SEC will also need to monitor and support this venture. The administration says that its goal is to give more people access to private markets with the potential of improving returns and diversification. In order to give alternatives the green light, several areas will need to be addressed, right? This isn't just something that can happen overnight. These areas could include re-examination and possible rescissions of DOL guidance, clarification of fiduciary processes and duties, adjustments to ERISA rules, and updates to how the SEC classifies accredited and qualified investors. Because remember, even outside of ERISA regulated plans like 401ks, private equity and debt, these things are highly regulated items, right? So, and now you're trying to do it in ERISA regulated, which tend to be even higher standard items, right? So while we don't yet know what this change, if it is even going to happen, will look like, there are definitely pros and cons that we can talk about and discuss. The pros were stated earlier. Alternative investments give investors the potential of higher returns and better diversification, allowing advisors and investors to add additional investment types in a risk-intelligent way, which can be a good thing. I am a fan of giving more people access to things that traditionally only a select few have had access to. But with that said, I love the idea that more people get more access to things. It shouldn't just be to a select group of people. But I do have concerns. In terms of digital assets and commodities, many of these securities carry high volatility and complexities that make them inappropriate for most investors. And private equity is in a league of its own when it comes to complexity and volatility. In my team's experience, the majority of private equity deals are deals we would not invest in ourselves and therefore do not recommend to clients. There are deals, however, that my team have reviewed and think they are awesome. But the vast majority of these deals have high fees, are misunderstood, they're backed by weak assets, and they take an ungodly amount of risk. Did I mention that most of these deals are huge commission generators for brokers? And frankly, most investors, let alone most advisors, do not practice adequate due diligence on these deals. It's all fun and games until the noticeability of risk returns. So with that disclaimer, with proper due diligence and risk management, the addition of these investment options can be very advantageous for investors. Giving a good investment team more flexibility in customizing a portfolio, I think, is a net benefit for the investor. Just need to be careful with it. And with that, thank you for your time.